Thank you very, very much, and thanks to all of you for being here. This is a wonderful event. It's really a tradition now. This is the second year of this wonderful Latin American Business Conference, and it's one that, with so much of the energy of this school, really any school, comes from the energy of its students. We're very proud of our students. I know a lot of you will get to meet many of them here, and many of you are alums, in fact, of the program. They continue to bring energy to conferences like this, and I thank all of them for doing that. Let me also thank the sponsors. The Honorable Frank Baxter, who is a friend, and I will, of course, I will introduce Frank in just a moment. LAN Airlines, Aeromexico, Startup Chile. I really all of those friends of our school and of this event. I have set off quite a presentation there. I want to thank them deeply because they make this possible. Also, the student club, the Latin American and Hispanic Business Association. This is one of the most vigorous clubs on campus and at the business school. For those of you that have come to Haas or are at Haas, the consumption function that they run, a social event, is legendary. But more deeply, they're bringing great energy and intellectual energy into our program and where the school is going. So that is greatly appreciated. Haas's involvement in Latin America. Look, you can't be a serious business school without being global, and you just can't be global without thinking hard about Latin America and all the growth opportunities that are in Latin America. It's exciting for our school, and I know it's exciting for everybody in the room. We have been involved on a number of fronts in Latin America. I mean, people have described it as an open canvas for the kind of innovation and entrepreneurship and growth that are important themes for this school. That's part of the reason why we are getting increasingly interested in the region, but obviously the whole world is increasingly interested in the region. We have a lot of leaders that we've produced from the Haas School. I could go through a long list. Rodrigo Rato is a graduate of our MBA program. If you probably know him. He ran the IMF for many years. Jorge Montoya. There are many other names that I could mention here. Our IBD program, our International Business Development Program, is a wonderful program connecting students with project work outside of the U.S., and much of that work is getting done in Latin America, and the Latin American part of what we're doing is in fact growing. So that's exciting as well. I've been to Latin America in the last year. I won't mention which countries. We will get to all the countries represented here. But that was a very, very exciting thing for me as well, to see things on the ground and the excitement. And it's great to see the role that our alums are playing in the region as well, leadership roles. We want to keep strengthening ties with alumni everywhere in general. The Haas Alumni Network over the last 10 or 15 years has strengthened very, very greatly. And we want to make sure that we lean into one another as part of the Latin American affinity group within that larger Haas Alumni Network. So please lean into Haas, lean into one another, hire Haas, make sure that we're providing the kinds of opportunities and guidance to one another that keep the network strong, because you're a very important part of that network. Thank you for being part of that. Let me give you some quick sense for the schedule. You've got, of course, the agenda in your packet there, so you know what's coming. There are very, very many things that you will get introduced to here. We tried to make sure to keep it balanced. I should say the students did, because all the work was theirs, and to try and hit on some of the topics that are top of mind for everybody that's thinking about the opportunities in the region. I get to turn it over now to my friend Frank Baxter. Gift here. Is it in the bag in the inside there? Thank you very much. Wonderful. Let me start with the gift, because I will introduce him in a moment. But he is the reason why we're all having this wonderful meal. He's been a supporter on many, many fronts, not just of our efforts in Latin America, but also the school's efforts more generally, just to be as intellectually vibrant a place as possible. He's been helping us bring some of the best scholars to Berkeley as visiting faculty members. So Frank, from us to you, we thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much. And now let me introduce Frank, who, as I said, is a friend and also a very, very important person for UC Berkeley generally and for many countries within the region. Frank is an alum of UC Berkeley, BA 1961, his economics degree. He is also a trustee for the whole campus, the UC Berkeley Foundation Board. He's a trustee on that board. He is chairman emeritus of Jeffries and Company. Most of you know that wonderfully vibrant financial firm that is growing by leaps and bounds, largely in investment banking, but even extending beyond that. Frank played a pivotal role in building Jeffries to the important player that it is in the financial industry today. He launched a group called their Investment Technology Group, lots of background there, and a fundamental role. He's a former director of NASD, the National Association of Securities Dealers. NASD is responsible for the regulation and oversight and operation of NASDAQ, the over-the-counter exchange NASDAQ. He's a member of the NASDAQ, was a member of the NASDAQ Executive Committee and a director of the Security Industry Association. So he's played many, many roles in thinking about how the financial markets can more effectively run themselves, and also in business himself as a leader of a wonderfully successful commercial enterprise in Jeffries. He is a former ambassador, as many of you know, to Uruguay. He served from 2006 to 2009 in that role. He still spends time every year going back to Uruguay, and his passion for all things Uruguayan are evident, and you will get a sense for that, I'm sure, in his comments. He has played a fundamental role for me personally, and I just want to mention, there's certain people that are close to the school, and they help on many, many fronts. Frank has gone beyond that in providing advice and counsel to me as a relatively new dean in the first 2.5 years of my deanship. I trust him as an advisor, and I thank him for his wisdom. This is a lunch that we're all enjoying, as I mentioned. The benefit, thanks to Frank, and I look forward to hearing some of his comments now. If you'll all please, with me, welcome Frank Baxter. Thank you, Frank.
Wow, I'm Frank Baxter, and I approve that introduction. Buenas tardes a todos. Tengo muy felicidad estar con ustedes hoy. Rich has really been a tremendous shot in the arm for Haas, which was fantastic already, but his enthusiasm and his willingness to question the paradigms of the past, which were very successful for the past, are essential to Haas and to the university. The University of California is going through a tremendous change in terms of its financing, and I think maybe some of you have been out marching. You're actually not marching for the right reason. Marching against the university is not the answer, but the funding for the university has gone through dramatic change in the last few years. The support from the state of California has gone in half. Actually, the growth from the federal government has increased. You know that tuitions have increased, but philanthropy has increased, and also the earnings for the endowment. So we're going from definitely a public university that's primarily a state university. Some would argue that it's more of a federal university. Others would argue that it's more of a private university, but it's going through some very, very interesting and challenging changes, and it takes new thinkers like Rich to adapt to that. And still, the university, by any standard of excellence in academia, is right at the top and will continue to be that way. But the adapting from an administrative standpoint, from delivering learning, is really challenging right now. And so it takes leaders like Rich to do that. What I have come to think about life is that virtually everything is random, and then you make up the story about it after the fact. And I was just thinking about trying to kind of relevance today and relevance to young people thinking about the future. I was born in Northern California, And one of the most impressive, in a very small town, most impressive persons I met was the local lawyer. And as a result of meeting him, I was sure I wanted to be a lawyer. And I wanted to come to Cal, but I couldn't make it, so I first went to Chico State University. And one night in Chico State, my first semester, I went out with some of my buddies and had just a little bit too much to drink. And I wound up enlisting in the Air Force. And while I was in the Air Force, I met a man a few years older than me who was investing in the stock market. He had worked for Merrill Lynch before he came into the service, and I became totally enamored with what he was doing. And as a result, I came back. I still couldn't get into Berkeley, but I went to Sacramento State and worked very hard and was able to finally come to Berkeley. And then I studied economics, became excited about economics and everything that I learned. It was really a fantastic experience, which I treasure. And then I went to work for a bank, and during that transition, I was saying, what am I doing? I was always someone who felt that I wanted to be of service to humanity in some way or another. So why couldn't I be in Africa helping malaria or any number of things? Why couldn't I be a teacher? And for somewhere along the line, I realized that as a business person, I can do as much as any other of the so-called helping areas, whether it's in health or anything like that. And Warren Buffett talks about his business being his canvas. And as I look back now, I can think about the number of jobs and number of lives that have been affected as a result of what I have done. Not because of me, but just something that I was in the process of the various things as a result of philanthropy that I've been able to do, the number of companies that I've helped start that provide services that I would say in summation, not me as an individual, but generally a business person has an opportunity probably to contribute more to the world than just about any other walk of life if they want to. And somewhere along the line, I started realizing that there's a saying that something like mature ambition is not knowing what you want and how to get it. It's knowing what you have and how to give it. And that really made a huge, huge difference for me in business. In most of my communications, eventually, inside I always said, thanks for the opportunity to serve. I just wanted to try to remember that's why I was there. Made a lot of money doing it, but the trip was just a heck of a lot better than if I say, how can I get make this trade regardless of whether it's a good trade or not trade. Just how can I make the commission this particular time? So that helped me. Now talk about randomness. Several years ago, I have a really good friend, and one of his really good friends was a fellow named George W. Bush. And this friend's in Los Angeles, and George Bush was started to run for governor of Texas, and he spent a lot of time in California. California is sort of the ATM machine for every politician. People come out here to get money, make a lot of promises, and go back. You never hear from them again until the next election. So as a result of our mutual friendship, I got to know Bush and helped him with that election and all along the line, and that was certainly a random act. And in 2006, I got a call from the White House, and they said, "Your president would like you to serve him abroad." I said, "Okay, that's great." And he said, "I'd like to serve him in Uruguay. Do you know anything about Uruguay?"